Hello, welcome to Friday I'm in Bed.
Podcast for midlife women living their best life, but in bed by 10. This week on Friday I'm in Bed, we're starting with health and fitness as we get older and asking why so many of us still have such a complicated relationship with exercise. Is it through PE in the 70s and 80s, where it was basically humiliation in polyester gym knickers? Or because fitness has so often been sold to women through beauty, weight and appearance, rather than strength, energy and feeling good?
Then we're talking about Olivia Rodrigo and the internet debate around her baby doll dress. We get into history of the style from the late 90s to 90s grunge and why it's suddenly become a cultural battleground. Is she just having fun with fashion, or does the pressure on female performers to look increasingly youthful feed into a bigger problem, where youth is still tied to value? And at what point does commenting on what women wear become its own issue? So grab a cuppa and let's get into it. Hello, Kate. How are you? I hear you've been poorly this week.
Hello, I am better today, thankfully, just in time to record the podcast. I need to say happy birthday to you, Gemma. Yay, because it was your birthday yesterday.
It was my birthday on Wednesday, which is when we normally record, but we didn't because you were poorly, which meant that I got the whole day of my birthday off. So I went shopping and bought myself a dress and some other pointless things that I don't need, like a colouring book and 400 Gothic sticker book, because what you need when you turn 47 is stickers and colouring books. I think you'll find.
I think you'll find anything that brings you joy is good.
Yes. And then we went to a really nice Italian restaurant in Norwich called Benoli last night and had a bottle of wine. I only had half a bottle of wine, so it's not like, not like I was knocking it back, but that does mean that I am now like half asleep today. Yes, should be interesting. If I nod off, just wake me up, or just like completely forget. Oh, well, what would be new if I completely forgot what I was saying partway through?
Yes. But happy birthday. We are nearly at the end of week 1 of GCSEs.
Oh,
and it's going okay. I think just one meltdown this week.
only one.
No, there wasn't
How many?
mine. I didn't have a meltdown.
How many weeks do they go on for GCSEs these days? I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Two. So there's 2 weeks, then there's half term, and then they have a week and a half. So it's about 4 weeks. My daughter yesterday was a bit like, like I've had enough type of thing. And it's like, you've just got to keep going. You're only in week 1. And she's like, oh.
You go, yeah, you can't have had enough already. It's week 1.
And it was good because my son was in the room and he was like, mate, it's a nightmare. It's 4 weeks. It's 3.5, 4 weeks. It's a nightmare. But when you're finished, it's done. You've never got to think about these things again. Like, just keep going. So that's what it's been like in our house. It's just like, just keep going.
Yeah, nothing. It will all be over. And then, that's it. You'll never have to think about, well, mine was Far from the Madding Crowd. But you'll never have to think about whatever stupid book they made you do again.
Yes. Yeah, today she had her non-calculator maths exam, and she's like, after tomorrow, I'll never have to do maths in my head again, ever. And I'm like, well, you might do a bit of maths in your head, darling. She's like, yeah, but not this kind of maths, because I've got a calculator. And we were just laughing about how we were always told, weren't we? You won't always have a calculator in your pocket.
Anyway, we won't always have a calculator with you. Won't I?
So me and Adam were saying this, and Kitty just sat there looking at us like we were absolutely crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Because of course she has never not known having a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she's always had a phone, but you know what I mean. And we were like, yeah, that was the way we were taught, that we had to learn it in our head because we won't always have a calculator. And funnily enough, we always do now. Some people had them on their smartwatches as well. So they've got, you've got it on your wrist, like multiple calculators.
You've got one on your computer. You can use Excel. There are many, many, many ways that you can do maths without needing to do it in your head at any point.
Yes. So that's us.
Yeah. So in your face, maths teachers.
Yeah, in your face. In your face. Although I did have a conversation with my son yesterday because we're trying to find which halls of residence to go into. And obviously you have to pay. Well, I don't know. You have to pay. We didn't have to pay. You have to pay for your accommodation and you have to borrow money to pay for your accommodation. But there's a shortfall. And how are you going to make up the shortfall? So we're doing all this kind of maths yesterday. And like, he's just a bit, And it's like, they don't teach them that. They don't teach them sensible, practical,
Oh,
you know,
how to work out where you're going to get any money from.
yeah, or, just rent all this stuff. And yeah. Anyway, we've got lots to talk about.
We have, as ever, no shutting us up. Oh, yeah, I still might nod off halfway through. I'm just gonna lean on my microphone.
But you lean and let's get into it.
Okay, so I'm going to start this week talking about PE trauma. Because, I mean, you were either at school the person that liked PE or the person that didn't like PE, weren't you? There was no this is all right. So what sparked me off thinking about this was a story in women's running. And so they had a piece last week which picked up on a campaign that Age UK is running, which is called Act Now, Age Better. Snappy. It launched on the 21st of April. They're running it all through the summer. And the big idea is aimed at 50 to 65-year-olds. So that's you, old ladies, not me. I'm such a spring chicken. But anyways, aimed at 50 to 65-year-olds to get them moving. And so they've partnered with 40 different sporting organisations across the UK. So there's Pickleball England. I don't even really know what pickleball is. It's like tennis for people that don't do tennis, I think. Badminton England, the Ramblers. And it's just basically a huge inclusive push to say, come on, try some sports. You might have PE baggage from school, but that's fine. Here are some beginner lessons. Just give it a go. So they released some research alongside the campaign, and that's the bit that made me go, ooh. So they surveyed, I'm reading this because I will get it wrong otherwise. So they surveyed UK adults aged 50 to 65, and they found that 4.1 million people are still traumatized by school PE lessons. 4 million have been put off exercise for life because of PE at school. And 40% remember feeling self-conscious about their body. 40% remember being picked last for teams. And nearly half, which was 6.7 million people, used to dread school PE altogether. Wouldn't believe it now, considering I'm a personal trainer and I run for fun, apparently, and do Pilates and go to the gym. But I hated PE at school. I would hide in the showers to get out of it. I once swore at a PE teacher because we were playing rounders and I was like, oh no, I'm out, and she was like, no, you're not, get to the front of the queue. So I went, oh, okay. So I went again, and then I was still out, but I actually did try, and then I swore at her when she tried to make me do it again, and then she sent me to see the headmistress, but I didn't go. I hid in the toilets. So that's my most memorable PE trauma. Then followed by all of my classmates trying to persuade her that I had a terrible upbringing and my parents didn't mind if I swore. And she came in and was like, if you ever need to talk about anything, I was like, something's gone on here that I wasn't paying attention to. I didn't have a terrible upbringing, by the way. I had a wonderful upbringing. Okay, Mum? So, yeah, I mean, I think you put up something the other day about PE knickers, didn't you, on Instagram?
Yeah, PE knickers. We had to wear big blue pants and a white vest.
Ours were green under the netball skirt.
We didn't have it under. We just wore them.
Oh, see, we had a netball skirt, and then we had a white Airtex shirt. Cross country in the rain, always fun, unless you just hide in the bushes. So there's kind of several threads, I guess, that would run through this. So there's the PE trauma that we had that we're already getting specific about. So we will talk about PE trauma. There's the fact that this hasn't changed in 30 years. Girls at school particularly are still basically leaving school with trauma about being forced to go running in the rain, and they probably don't have PE knickers anymore, but they're still
I can tell you about that. Remember to ask me about the PE rules about girls and their PE kits currently in schools.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sure that will come up. And then there's how it's then after they've traumatized us at school, then when we hit our adult years, they try and sell it back to us but as the wellness industry by supplement brands and workout videos and the whole wellness industry selling us all these things, words like toned and lean and all the other words that mean absolutely nothing, obviously. So they then they traumatize us, sell it back to us when we get older. And then there's the Age UK campaign itself, of course, which I think is genuinely good, because they are trying to promote activity as something that will make you feel good, and that's something you do for itself rather than to burn calories or look pretty or get lean and long and toned. Okay, first of all, I want you to tell me about the school PE rules, because otherwise I will forget to ask you.
Oh, I think it's just, obviously we'll talk about our own PE experiences in a second. I think nothing's changed apart from they don't have to wear knickers. The sporty ones are sporty, get picked, win all the awards, go, put in the newsletters about how amazing they've done. The non-sporty people are just sort of forgotten, or almost not, I would say ridiculed, the wrong word. There's this, you have to be into sport because sport is good. And of course, fitness is good, but it's this kind of pressure is still there. My son, he played football for about a year because he felt that he had to, he hated it. And everyone was like, but he needs to play sport. But it's like, he's a drummer, he's fit. Like, he's drumming for 45 minutes, hard drumming, he's not like weak. But also the uniform, the girls, it's, they have to wear, it's just things like they're not allowed to wear leggings because you can see the outline of your bum, which is what leggings do. Do you know what I mean? So they have to wear shorts over their leggings as a rule.
Right.
So they've gone the other way. So I was sent out with a big pair of blue knickers and a white vest. And it was like, get on with it, whether you're cold or not, or feel odd or not, or whatever. Whereas now it's like, you can wear leggings, but you have to wear shorts over the top because the leggings are too tight. And, it's things like that. So there's still, they're not, it's the opposite. And it's just like, oh, for God's sake, my daughter had a detention because she'd lost her shorts and she just wore leggings, and so like, does it matter? And and my daughter seems to do with PE just like I did, which is like hang around in the, what's the room where you hang your coat? Locker room.
Changing room.
Changing room. Yeah, just like literally just like hide in there. I think that's what she does. She seems to walk off in PE and hide underneath a tree. And so I don't think much has changed, actually. I think it's still like you have to do it and you must enjoy it. And without recognizing that some people just don't enjoy it.
It makes me really sad. I mean, one of the stats that I've got in, I actually did myself a stats box this time after keep going, oh, where are they all? Is that 36% of girls versus 24% of boys avoid PE because of how they look. Again, I feel that like the minute they start flagging that up to girls as every time you put your PE kit on, you can't wear this because it's too tight, then we're like flagging up how you look immediately.
It's worth saying that they are, well, actually, I'm not sure if they are now, but when my son was at school, you had like a tiered PE. So you had boys that are really good at PE's group, girls that are really good at PE's group, and they're segregated. And then you have all the people that don't give two hoots about PE or are really rubbish at it all together. So they do actually now separate the really good ones. So maybe there's less of that. You're not being picked. But it's a bit like you've got all the people that really don't care all together. But yeah, I mean, the whole like shorts over your leggings thing is, as you said, it's making an issue. It's a non-issue because girls walk around with leggings on outside of school the entire time. But yeah, girls, I can imagine. I think the boys, I only talk about our school, the boys all do football. So what happens is the top group, boys do football and they all love football and they go on, they're the people that play football all the time. And the girls group all do netball and they all play netball. They're all in the netball team that play all around the county. And then the good thing is the other group play a range of interesting sports per term. So they did backgammon for one term. Backgammon. My God, badminton. Backgammon would be amazing. That's my kind of
sport, backgammon.
I'll do backgammon on the beach in Greece, which is where I always used to play. No, badminton. And he loved it because he wasn't made to play football. It's like when I was at school being made to play hockey. I didn't want to play hockey. If I could have played badminton or something just a bit different, I might have enjoyed it more. And he loved doing that, but he hated football.
Yeah, I get so angry about the way See, when you say that they're like segregating off the ones that are good and then putting everyone else together, the first things I get there is that they're sticking people who don't really like the sport and are already self-conscious about their bodies in a group with a load of other people who are feeling exactly the same way, and with boys. So that feels like an issue to me that's not exactly going to instill in them a love of PE.
Think though that group aren't that competitive, so I think the aim is slightly different. Not that I'm defending my kids' school by any shape or form, but I think the top groups, I don't think they're called the top groups, but you know what I mean, the sporty
Yeah.
groups are very competitive and they play competitively outside school and in the PE lessons, where I think all the others don't really care. And then I think it's almost like, just get some exercise, everybody. Come on.
Yes.
And nobody cares who wins, if you know what I mean. So I think it's just a little bit more chilled. But I do get the fact that they will probably not be inspired necessarily to be ambitious. But then again, I kind of feel like not everybody has to be. Like, I'm a real, like, my daughter played football for quite a few years in the county for her local team, you know, and then she decided she didn't want to do it anymore. And the amount of people in my family and around going, oh, what's she going to do now then? She needs a hobby. She needs a hobby. And it's like, she does have a hobby. Her hobby is music and makeup. And it's like, that's not a hobby. And I'm like, do you know what 15-year-old girls are like? You know, that's actually what a lot of 15-year-old girls love doing, reading and watching Glee. She watches or whatever, you know, and that's what she enjoys doing. She doesn't have to do a sport. And I think I always felt, and maybe this is linked into this, you have to like sport, but I just didn't. I don't. Like, is it really that bad?
I still don't really. I think that's one of the things is it's like they define you when you're at school as you are either sporty or not sporty.
Yes.
And I was not sporty and therefore could not play sport. But I mean, I still don't think of myself as sporty. Like, do you know what I mean? I like makeup. I like shoes. I also happened to like going to the gym, and now I like running. And it turns out you can do all of those things without having to be a sporty human being. It's not like you are the sporty crowd or the not sporty crowd. And I think that that's one of the things that's like missing with the way they kind of teach this to kids, is that, oh, you're not sporty.
Well,
when I was
definitely did with us, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, when I was like primary school age, I used to love gymnastics, and I would love, you know, I loved some of the things, but because I wasn't great at it, I would then quite often get like, you know, excluded, and therefore I never got to be any good at it. And I kind of learned that I wasn't sporty and therefore stopped doing anything at all and started hiding in the changing rooms. So you weren't allowed to do things just because it was kind of fun. You know, you had to be good at it, and you had to be competitive.
And I think that's
a few years back, there was, I can't remember who it was now. There was a politician who was talking about girls wanting to be pretty while they played sports, and was talking about, I see these roller skaters and they're all got sparkly things and their hair's all done nicely. And you go, but then you're teaching people that you can do both at the same time, which is, you know, fine if you want to, but also you're making it all about that. And it does frustrate me so much with what I've learned as an adult. And, you know, I genuinely played a competitive sport at kind of, you know, I mean, a decent enough level that BBC Sport showed one of our games. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not, you know, I am sporty, but I didn't have to be a sporty person to be sporty.
I don't know if I ever was a sporty person. I skived PE for most of the time. I was absolutely traumatized. I was traumatized by swimming. We had a swimming pool and it was freezing, and we used to have to dive in, swim a width, get out, and wait for our partner to do the same. So you were in, out, and it was horrible. And we didn't have showers. So you then you couldn't be late to your next lesson. So you had to get changed really, really quickly. No shower, no hairdryer, nothing. And almost just put your uniform on over your damp body and rush off to the next lesson. And the only way you got out of swimming was to have a period. And you'd say, I have my period. And I think I had a period for 3 weeks out of every month, so that I never had to do swimming. How I got away with it, I don't know. And they used to then, in the register, put a big P next to on the register, so you were either there or you were P because you had your period. So I think swimming, that experience traumatized me, because I will go swimming, but I don't like being underwater. I don't like being cold, you know. So I think that did. But the rest, I think to myself, I was thinking in preparation to this, you know, am I a sporty person? Was I not? I don't think I was bad at it. I wasn't like picked last, but I just didn't enjoy it. I just couldn't be bothered. Like I was really into
Mm.
music and I was just not into sport, you know? And it was just like, that's okay. But it wasn't okay. It was definitely not okay back in the day. And we had to wear leotards as well as we were going through puberty. And I just remember, your body's changing and hair is growing and all this stuff is going on. And we had to wear these like little leotards. And it's like, not
See,
nice.
this is another thing is I think that's the thing as well is thinking about whether you have to enjoy sport or that kind to me, one of the things that people need to know is that they don't moving your body and doing some form of activity isn't any different. It's looking after yourself. It's like washing your hair and brushing your teeth, right? It's something
Mhm.
that you need to do to look after yourself. It doesn't have to be competitive. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be good at it. You just some kind of movement, dancing, getting out of breath a couple of times a week and picking up something heavy is something that you have to do to look after yourself, the same as brushing your teeth, or otherwise all your teeth will fall out.
I know, but then I also think, and this is where the campaign, obviously it's really good because it's really important
Mm.
that women in my age bracket are moving now to have a better age. Like I get it, but I also feel like every time I turn on the internet, there's another thing I have to do. And so it's I suppose the question back to then is how to kind of get that message across in a non-preachy way. I
Yeah.
have adults, older people in their 70s in my life, and they didn't do that much exercise and they are okay as well, but they did walk. But when you go online, it's almost like walking's not exercise. And it's like, well, actually, if I walk, I'm moving. It's all good.
This is the thing, we
Taking the stairs and not the
overcomplicate
lift.
it.
Right?
I have to rewind, by the way, because I have a story about getting changed after swimming, which I really cannot leave this topic without telling.
Go on then.
Because when I was at school, we had a French teacher that nobody really liked. I won't say his name. He won't be listening, but I won't say his name. But he got quite angry because we were always late after we had PE before French, and we were always late afterwards because we were getting changed,
Yeah.
which, for the record, is something. Not giving girls the opportunity to get changed properly after PE is a thing that does get flagged up as a reason they hate it. So he said to us that we should come to French in our PE kits, but we had swimming. So one day we decided we were going to take him at his word, and we actually bought dry swimming costumes to change into.
I love this
But
story.
we all turned up to French at like 14 years old in our swimsuits. And
Brilliant.
yeah, but that was entertaining. I don't think he really knew what to do with a room full of 14-year-old girls wearing swimsuits. And after that, he was fine. We were allowed to change. So yeah, that was, I just couldn't get out of that without telling that story because
That's amazing.
not that I would ever encourage anyone to do that if they're teachers, but definitely you should probably do that if they keep on at you, because that's the only way. He was so angry, but the PE teachers weren't letting us go early so that we had time to actually change before French. So something had to give, didn't it?
Yeah, we had exactly the same thing, as in you couldn't get to the next lesson. And I think now, if you're 1 minute in our school, if you're 1 minute late to a lesson twice, you have an after school detention, and it's on a rolling. So you will be, because you've got to get from one side of the building, one side of the campus to the other. And obviously, if you have had PE, you've got to get changed too. So it's just, I don't think I'm traumatized by it as such. I quite liked leaving school and not having to play hockey.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to play hockey again or netball. Great. I'm really happy with that. But I do have friends that are getting back into netball. And they've joined the local team. So there are, actually quite a few of the mums here are in a netball team. So there are people doing that, but I think they were the sporty ones at school. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, see, this is because obviously I was in a roller derby team for years. So, and I didn't get into that. That was like my mid-30s. I started getting into that. And I'd started running maybe a year or so before that, which started with literally just thinking I was going to get fit and lose some weight, and then discovered that I actually kind of enjoyed just the thing of going running. But I love stats, so I only really got into running once I discovered that you could record it on your phone, and I could look and like go, ooh, how did I do, and how did I do with this? One of the things that you were saying then about going on every time you go online, there's something else you've got to do. That's the wellness industry is then start selling it back to us. Once they've made us hate PE and think that we have to be sporty and competitive, we can't just be moving our bodies. Then we get to, well, whatever you're already doing is not good enough. You need to buy one of those stupid booty bands that they were selling us a few years ago, or, whatever they're selling to us now. Like if you want to do this is Jennifer Aniston's wellness routine and her exercise routine, and you have to do Pilates, but mat Pilates isn't good enough. You have to do reformer Pilates, or you have to do some new made up exercise which is basically the same as all the old exercises. And and that somehow it's all about sculpting yourself into a specific shape rather than being strong and still being able to walk up the stairs or get up out of a chair without using your arms or carry your shopping bags. And I think that's then where it falls down and fails us then again when we're adults, is by telling us all that nonsense, frankly.
Totally. And I think, so school for me was avoiding PE. And then in my 20s, I was running around and going out and just having fun. Although I got married to somebody, so it wasn't that fun. But anyway, I think I then got back into exercise probably in my early 30s, but it was 100% linked to how I looked, not how strong I was. Although I did go to the gym. I mean, I used to do yoga like 4 times a week, like sessions. So I was really supple and I was really good at it. I found something I was good at. So that was another thing I think that's quite important in that. But if I'm really honest, looking back, was I doing it to be strong, or was I doing it to be sculpted and toned and all those things that are a bit rubbish? It was probably about how I looked as well. And I think is it that bad that you're doing sport because you want to look good? Because actually, if you're doing sport or you're doing exercise, it's good, you need to do it. But it's the way it's sold to us, isn't it? That it's kind of toned arms. You need to tone up your arms. And it's like, well, it would be better to talk about lifting so that you can lift yourself up, or, hold your shopping, as you said. That would, when you're older, that would be probably a more positive message than talking about toned arms, because of, otherwise you need to cover them because they're not toned, that kind of message.
They don't even sell it as looking good, do they? They sell it as looking a specific way.
Yes, actually that's important.
It's not like, look your best. It's look like
this.
I don't know why Jennifer Aniston's just stuck in my head now, but, it's just, look like Kim Kardashian. There you go. I do know another celebrity.
Quite extreme there. But anyway, those two. No, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's sold to us. I think that's the point. So rather than, especially say if you're 60, your parents, your mum might still be alive. You're seeing some of her health issues, for example, or, so rather than talking about aging positively and strongly so that you can be as fit as you can be forever, that kind of thing, it's still like, toned arms, or you must do this. And that's the problem I have. You must, whilst making sure that you have 140 grams of protein, and whilst you make sure you have 10 hours, and, and it's just like, mate, I'm just trying to get through the day.
And you can't walk, you have to run. But if you're running and you stop to walk, that's not running anymore. Or like, oh, you're not running. And then if you're running, you're not running fast enough.
Exactly. And I think that's the message that is out there online, very much aimed at menopausal women, women in their 50s. Obviously, I know the algorithm will be showing me that because that's me, but the marketing has shifted. I mean, I'm sure it's still there, to the younger 30-year-old, be sculpted, look a certain way. Now it's like, you've got to be strong, you've got to be fit, you got to do this. And it's just like, lift heavy. And I get it and I understand it because it is important, but it's like overwhelming to the majority of people. And that's another one of the issues.
You have to start where you are. And I think that that's one of the things that maybe this Age UK campaign can be really useful in. Is part of me is a bit sad that it's Age UK because it's aimed at midlife women. And when people think of Age UK, they start to think of like elderly people and campaigns about, people having their heating on and stuff, which is kind of a shame. But if we can get past that, the idea is just to get people moving, doing something they enjoy, anything. And I just love the idea that they're doing like beginners classes and things like that, and like stuff that you can give stuff a go. And you know, because there is a whole joy in meeting people socially and doing these kind of things as well, like some of the kind of like slow social runs I've been on and things like that. You meet people.
Well, that's what
There
I
are
was
some
thinking about, what we talked about last week about, was it last week, about community living, women over 50, over 60, over 70 wanting friendships and those kind of support. That's a great way to get them, isn't it?
Yeah. They've got some really great ambassadors in it as well, one of whom is Dame Kelly Holmes, who used to run. I'm doing a little running impression, anyone who's not watching.
Just do a bit of running. Olympian.
Yes, but she used to train. She is from Kent, where I'm from, and she used to train running around the lake near where my house was, and my mum and dad used to walk the dogs around there and be like, oh my God, please don't trip Kelly Holmes over. Please don't trip Kelly Holmes over. But she is one of their ambassadors. She said it's about, and she said, which is what I was saying earlier, so this is her quote, it's about self-care, making new connections, feeling team spirit, supporting mental health, getting outside, feeling strong and capable for as long as possible. And I think that just sums it up. So I think it's a great campaign, and I'm glad that we got to talk about it. I have a link, which we will put in the notes. It's the ageuk.org.uk/act now. We could go and have a look. Maybe we could go play pickleball, Kate.
Or badminton. No, I meant backgammon, not badminton. Backgammon. Goodness me, I can't get my lexicon together with badminton and backgammon today. Moving on from sport, I want to talk about fashion. This is something that I like, because I don't like sport. I want to talk about Olivia Rodrigo. So Olivia Rodrigo, just for anyone that doesn't know, is a very popular artist, 23-year-old, has come through the Disney ranks and is incredibly successful, just like other young women that we've talked about, Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, and the like. She has a new album out, and she's doing like a real promotion for it. She's doing some shows, and there's videos, obviously, as they do. And she is wearing a baby doll dress in all of the marketing. She has various different ones. Very, very short baby doll dress with kind of her knickers on show when she's like sort of dancing around, and her knickers are quite sort of bloomer-like. And that
knickers. Well, not her pea knickers.
Not her pea knickers. Definitely like sort of really bloomery things. And it's divided the internet. And what I thought I'd do before we go on and talk about baby doll dresses is I'm going to share all the arguments, because there's a lot of them, and you'll see how complex this issue is, rather than young girl wears a short dress narrative.
Okay.
So the first thing that I'm hearing or reading is lots and lots and lots and lots of people are very, very upset about what she's wearing, because the dress is showing too much, basically. All her legs are on show, and she can see her knickers, and it's too sexual. She should be far more modest. And especially when this is something I think we've talked about before, actually, when a young woman has come up through the Disney ranks or whatever, and we have seen them as children, when they're in their Olivia's 23, they often play around with new looks, wear different amounts of clothing, and people do get very, very upset. I think it's partly because they perceive them still as this child, but actually she's a grown woman. And so there's lots of people sort of talking about that. But then the counter argument to that is stop policing what women wear. If she wants to show her legs, she can show her legs. She should be allowed to show her legs. And actually, it's verging into kind of victim blaming mentality of what was she wearing, if something happens to her, that kind of thing. But then the counter argument to that has been around, why are so many female artists wearing very little clothing on stage compared to men? Are they being made to? Is it a prerequisite? But then the argument to that is they're dancing, they're wearing, that you're not going to wear lots and lots of clothes if you're doing a big dance routine. So there's lots of sort of conversations around modesty. There's also been a lot of, I've got a list, all these arguments, and we'll discuss all of them.
I'm settled in. Crack on.
The other argument is around the childlike nature of the baby doll dress. Because it's a baby doll dress, not a baby dress. And also, I'm going to put it out there, one of the ones that's being shared a lot has been designed by Chloe. You know, she hasn't literally made it herself, or, you know, it's a designer dress. Lots and lots of people talking about in the current climate with the kind of Epstein files and the whole kind of, you know, it just feels a bit icky to be dressing as a child when you are an adult. And then that's led on to people talking about kind of this youth culture, you know, how women in the public eye, and let's face it, just women in general, are the want is to be as young as possible, and how youth is seen as more important than aging, you know, like, so there's that whole debate around, like, why does she want to look young? She shouldn't be trying to look young. And then the counter argument to that is, it's just fashion. It's vintage. It's a vintage look. We'll talk about this, I'm sure. But, you know, design, you know, the concept of baby doll dress in the late 50s, it became really popular late 50s, and in the 60s it started off as kind of lingerie nightwear, and then it moved into, you know, Twiggy with her doll-like makeup, and Jane Birkin with her really, really short baby doll dresses. That was then reimagined in the 90s with Courtney Love. The argument has been to that, though, is that you know, Courtney Love wore a baby doll dress as a real act of rebellion, and is Olivia doing that, or is she just, you know, is she being made to wear it? I've got two more. I will stop talking. The next argument, so many arguments, is why is femininity so sexualized? So why can't I like pink and fluffy and frilly things without it being classed as too sexual? You know, it's a bit like Legally Blonde, you know, she couldn't be blonde and like pink and be clever. And then the final thing, whilst we're on the fashion, is that there's lots and lots of people saying, well, I just love it as a look and I would wear it. And actually, I went to festivals last year, I went to Transmit Festival, and it was full of young women, teenage girls wearing little frilly shorts that looked a bit like knickers. You know, it's kind of just fashion. So loads to unpick. But what I'd love to do is start at the fashion vintage bit, and then we'll move on to the whole, is it appropriate, and, you know, why do female artists feel that they have to wear fewer clothes than the men? So baby doll dresses. Have you ever worn a... Oh, actually, I probably should say for anyone listening, a baby doll dress is literally a dress that is super, super short, a bit like that dolls used to wear. So they're generally, not always, quite frilly, like puffy sleeved, short. They'll have a little bit of brocade on or ribbon on, or like ultra feminine, I would say, and very short, so that you can see knickers as well. Not always, but sometimes.
Generally, knickers designed to be shown.
Exactly.
The kind of look that you're on about is that, you know, you're essentially wearing a top and some very short shorts, like
A long top
really
and short shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, you know, it's a very specific look with that kind of look that you're on about.
Yeah.
I was a 90s riot girl,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna immediately go with yes. I didn't go a lot into the kind of lace and stuff because that wasn't really my style. But yeah, I mean, I wore like tiny little dresses over the shorts and very short shorts and weird coloured tights, and, you know, I was into that. So yes, the baby doll dress is definitely a look that I'm familiar with. I'm just like going through my brain trying to remember what outfits I had when I was a teenager. I didn't do a lot of the lacy stuff with the Riot Girl thing, but I had like an orange plastic handbag and pink beads and all that kind of stuff when I was like playing with it. But yes, basically. And I think when you say it's just fashion, I could go on about that for ages, because fashion is never just fashion, is it? None of this is ever just. There's no such thing as just fashion, because fashion is very much not as shallow as
Oh, yeah. I wasn't implying
as
shallow.
Boys like to think it is.
Yeah. I wasn't implying that, but it's almost like,
Yeah.
I think I mean it.
No,
It's
I know that you
physique.
wouldn't be, because I think we very much align on this particular fashion is not that simple topic. But when it was a fashion in kind of the 90s, I see what you're saying is that it was very subversive. Like, it was about subverting that male gaze kind of thing. And like, what? I can walk around in my pants if I like, that kind
Yeah,
of thing. And
I think Courtney Love has said, it was also like, oh, so you want me to be ultra feminine and girly and, okay, I will.
I'm like,
So here I am. But then she'll have smudged lipstick and a ripped
and
scruffy
army
hair.
boots with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I used to go to the charity shop and buy 70s dresses in the 90s. I had 2 dresses of my grandma's, and I cut them up so they were so short that I had to wear big knickers with them, which were basically just black tiny hot pants because I cut them so short. I mean, I'm a few years older than you as well, so I would have been in my early 20s at that point. And they were obscene. Obscene, as in I had to wear.
You see, you were old enough that your mum wasn't going to stop you.
Yeah, but they were very short. And I used to go out, I had these silver hot pants that were just pants. In hindsight, they were just pants. But then my mum in the 60s probably had hot pants that were just pants as well. So it's kind of a bit cyclical, this, isn't it?
See, again, there is always a lot of blaming with fashion as well. I think some of it's to do with, like, I wrote something about this recently, and there was always a lot of, why do men assume that we wear clothes for them?
Yeah.
Was what a lot of people said. And so when people talk about this, the fashion of like the baby doll dress or anything like that in particular, and that it's too sexual and like, oh my gosh, like men can see your pants. Why do we assume that we are wearing these things for men and that because of whatever we've got on, we want men to look at us? Maybe, when you get dressed, who do you think might like what you're wearing, Kate? That's a good question, isn't it?
Me, actually.
Anyone else? Because, I mean, the only person
My audience,
first and foremost, I think this looks nice.
Yeah, me. I go, oh, I like that. Or I go, oh, I don't like that.
Secondly, I think other women might like this. I don't think it has ever at any point in my life have I thought, well, maybe boys will like this, men will like this, whatever. Like, even, when I was single and on the pull, I don't know, for want of a better word, which I don't think I ever was on the pull. But, I thought, do I think I look and feel nice? Does my mate think I look and feel nice? When I go out, if a woman says to me, oh, love your jacket, that's my whole day made, that is. Like, if a bloke says, I love your jacket, I think, oh God, I'll never wear this again then. That's obviously the wrong message going out with this jacket.
But I think it's really important, and it's particularly important towards Olivia Rodrigo and even Sabrina Carpenter, who is the other celebrity, a singer that wears little baby doll. She wears baby doll lingerie. So what would have been the original 40s, 50s baby doll little sort of peignoirs.
Yeah.
Is it? Sets.
Hey, a peignoir is a thing.
Yeah, it's where you have it's like a little frilly dressing gown. That's not a dressing gown,
I've got one
with the matching.
It doesn't have masking pants, but I do have a little.
Yeah,
60s
I
baby doll.
wear those. Anyway, they get a lot of backlash from men and women around being too sexual. But one of the things Sabrina Carpenter says is, I am not here for the male gaze. My audience is all women generally, and they love it. Like, it's that as you said, people presume if you're wearing very short dress or a revealing dress or a see-through dress or whatever, that it's for the male gaze. And Olivia Rodrigo, her fan base is young women. Like, she's not trying, she's just literally having fun with a look. But there is, I think the argument around this, it's the femininity. Like, why can't I wear something revealing because I want to, but also if I want it to be, because what she's wearing is quite frilly and pretty, as is Sabrina Carpenter. Like, why does that have to be seen as so bad? Because I'm allowed to like frivolous, pretty, cutesy things as a woman without it being, what's the word, put down or sexualized.
Well, I mean, that's just a standard thing, isn't it? Like chick flick, chick lit. Like, anything women are into is frivolous and unserious. Anything men are into is the important.
It's like
thing.
the whole
fashion and makeup is frivolous. Football is very important, obviously.
It's the fangirl, 16-year-old or 12-year-old girls screaming at One Direction. They're just hysterical, as the press, everyone says. But boys or lads watching the football crying because their team has lost. That's not hysterical, but we are
No,
loving
and
a
it's
pot
I mean,
nap.
that comes up a lot, isn't it? Like, how men have managed to frame women as the emotional ones because somehow they've convinced us all that anger isn't an emotion.
Exactly, and also they do cry when their team loses, so
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, I think that feels like a just a standard thing across anything. That, like, if it's not for men, who is it for? Like, we're not allowed anything for ourselves. Why can't we just,
well, there is definitely that.
for
But then
Christ's sake?
what about there's a big argument, obviously, in the current climate as well, around why is she infant what's the word? Infant
Infantilizing.
can't speak, infantilizing herself, even though she's got long boots on. And it's, she looks very like a polished six version of 1992. She's got long DMs on as well. So she's not like, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah, I saw that. I looked the picture. When I saw some of the pictures of her, this is what it is. It is very much a callback both to like the 60s and to the mid 90s, kind of like reinvention of this.
and one of the dresses she's worn was Jane Birkin's dress. So she's actually, there are nods.
Yeah.
But lots of people are saying that it's really like, not, you should not be doing this in 2026. So in other words, well, you might have done it in 1992 and you might have done it in 1969 or whenever, but in the current climate you should not be doing this because it's like the whole, I know, Britney Spears as a schoolgirl or whatever, it's just like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
giving people, it's just icky, for a better word. But then, is she responsible for what's going on in the world? Or is she just wearing a cute dress?
I get it, but my first instinct is just to go, well, those guys have nothing to do with what I choose to wear. Like, I'm not wearing it for them. I'm not wearing it for
But
them.
then you're not on stage, I suppose, in the public eye.
Yeah, yeah. No, too depressing. That's it. Next question.
Move on. Okay, this is another one. So when I've been talking to people about the whole kind of Riot Girl thing, and they're like, this is different because some man has decided she's wearing this. And I'm like, well, we don't actually know that for a start. But then that leads you on to the conversation around, whether it's Taylor Swift or Beyonce, leotards, to name, for a better word. I mean, obviously there's sequins and there's feathers and there's all, showgirl outfits or whatever, but ultimately they're wearing leotards, but the men aren't. Like, is there a requirement, do you think, for female performers to be wearing fewer and fewer clothes?
And I think that's something quite interesting because you get male performers that do then start playing around with their outfits a little bit more. I'm not very good at this though, but was it Sam Smith?
Yeah.
A few years ago, or Harry Styles, maybe another one who likes to play around with his on stage looks. So there are male performers that like to go a little bit more kind of out there. But again, I think that then starts, but a lot of them get a lot of criticism for it as well. And I think that ties back into the, that's frivolous, whereas you should be. Are you making serious art? It's not serious art if you're wearing sequins and feathers.
I think there's a bit of that, but women are definitely wearing less. I remember on I think it was the Brit Awards, Liam Payne from One Direction was singing a duet with Rita Ora, and he was fully clothed and she had on what looked like a 1950s bra and girdle and knickers, with the pointy cups or, slightly. And they were together singing, and I just remember it being very noticeable that he is fully clothed and she is wearing her underwear.
And she's in her underwear.
A bit like Miley Cyrus and Robin Thicke, who we don't want to talk about, but he was fully clothed and she had on her underwear. So I think there is an expectation somewhere along the line for women to wear less clothes. And then when somebody, and you might not know her, sorry, but like Lola Young is an artist that's done really well in the last year. She is fully clothed, and people are very disrespectful about her, almost her look, because she's just like wearing normal clothes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then I also think, well, Madonna wore a leotard in the early noughties, and Tina Turner didn't used to wear very many clothes, did she? She had really little, like, swingy 20s style dresses, like,
yeah.
New.
I think it's I would say it's almost almost impossible to like disentangle the kind of like patriarchal expectations of women and what women actually want to be doing and who's in control and who's looking at who and the
Yeah.
gaze. It's kind of, it is almost impossible to disentangle that. And every time you do start asking these questions of a particular female performer, sometimes you do have to go, is that their responsibility to like disentangle all of that? Or maybe we should just think about what it is that they're doing and the music that they're producing again, rather than just spending all our time talking about whether we can see their pants or not. Because then you get the argument that, oh, well, if they weren't just hanging around in their pants, then we wouldn't be talking about their pants. But you're saying that this Lola Young isn't hanging around in her
Oh,
pants.
they've still
Instead,
got
we're
pump.
talking about that.
I know. And
Basically, we can't win. We cannot win. Whatever we do, men will assume it's for them and it'll be wrong.
young people, young women are wearing little tiny clothes. Not all of them and not all of the time. But, you know, my daughter is 15 and she'll go to a party in a little kind of corset type top and a little short skirt. You know, and there'll be people that will be outraged, but it's like they're all wearing that. And as was I. I mean, I was little cut off shorts or whatever. And, you know, as I said, when you go out and you see young women, they are wearing little clothes. But we all wore little clothes and our parents wore, I mean, well, depending on how old our parents are, in the
Yeah.
60s,
Not far you go back.
yeah, my mum wore mini skirts, you know, like it's kind of, it comes back to that, you know, it's fashion. And can we not just play with our identity? I think the other thing is when you're young, and again, it's making me sound really old, but when you're young, you play with your identity, don't you? And your look. And you might, you know, this year you might be all a bit emo and a bit like, you know, and then next year you might be wearing little baby doll dresses. And then the next year you'll be doing something else, because that's what is so great about being young, is you're kind of finding your way and you're finding your look. And they seem to get written off when they're just experimenting. And I think, you know, it's back to that. They're not allowed to, are they?
Yeah. I kind of, okay, I don't know where I'm going with this now. It is actually a massive topic, I think. I just keep kind of mentally coming back to that idea of it being frivolous because women like it. But then when I start thinking about that, you have to come along the wider women like it. And then when you're talking about performers and do they have a responsibility to their audience, and also who is in charge of that performer, because you brought up, oh, men are making her wear it. Are men making her wear it?
I don't know.
Who are these female performers now? I mean, I don't think right now anyone's making Beyonce wear anything, for example.
No.
And
but the
I
younger
think they'd
ones
struggle to
maybe.
make Madonna wear anything either.
But I think the younger ones, I mean, let's face it, men do run the music industry without a doubt.
Yes.
So she could be being told that this is a great look or not. I don't know. But as you said, there's no way Beyonce's wearing what Beyonce wants to wear.
But it's just a massive rabbit hole, because then you start going down into, well, men run the music industry, but if her audience is women, then they are trying to sell to women. So presumably if they were asking her to wear something, it's because they think women will like it. But then why do they think women will like it? Is it because we're right back to the patriarchy and we're just assuming that anything men like is okay, this is too long for 30 minutes.
I know, but this is why I wrote this. I had to write all the arguments down, because I made a reel about this earlier in the week, and I've seen all the arguments, and then obviously the algorithm picked up and showed me all the arguments. And it's a kind of, it cannot be fixed in the 25 minutes chatting, but it's not, it's so much bigger and multi-layered. When what might have happened is they said, oh my God, we've got hold of Jane Birkin's dress, and doesn't she look really cute in the 60s in these outfits? Literally, they could have said cute, or do you know what I mean? It might not have been she looks sexy, because I don't think she did. She looked cute. And actually,
no. But then maybe that's the in the current climate, should we be going with cute as a synonym for attractive?
But then that brings back, why can't we be cute? You know, we don't have to all be kick-ass or modest or conservative.
And it's not our response. It's not our response.
No. And actually, some days I wake up and I want to look cute. And it doesn't mean I'm not a feminist. I just fancy wearing a little cute pink dress. And then the next day I'll be in black lace and I'll be a bit more like punk or whatever. But, you know, like, we can we can have different iterations of ourselves. And I just think she just looked wicked as far as I'm concerned. I think it's just that she just looked cute. And it could be.
Yeah, I did. I did like the outfits. That, to be honest,
Yeah.
I did. The pictures I've seen, I do like it. But it must be heavy to try and carry the weight of the entire world's expectations on you every time you put on a frock and get on stage.
Well, there is that. But I also think, and one thing I haven't mentioned is my theme of which young female celebrity is going to be cancelled this week. Actually,
Okay.
we actually could have had two, because Billie Eilish was being cancelled all weekend. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. My daughter sat me down and went, "Oh, have you heard Billie Eilish is trying? They're cancelling Billie Eilish now." And I was like, "What?" Anyway, by Monday, we'd forgotten about that and we'd moved on to Olivia Rodrigo, and we've had Sabrina Carpenter and we've had Chapel Roan. We haven't got many left. It just seemed maybe we'll go on rotation.
Yeah, we'll have to, and then we'll just go back to the beginning. We're going to cancel Chapel again.
It's just exhausting.
Everybody.
And it must be exhausting for them. And she probably put that on and thought, I look really cool. I look cute. I feel good. She went out and sang her new song. Her audience loved it. And now she's getting accused of rage baiting paedophilia. Then it's just like, no.
Yeah. Is that who is the audience? Is it teenage girls? Is it grown men? Is it
Just
teenage boys? Who knows?
young women. It's young teenage, and then, well, I'm going to end actually not on Olivia Rodrigo, is that somebody sent me.
Well, there was one question that I did want to ask before we end this, though, is that it occurred to me while we were talking about baby doll dresses and stuff that all these people we're talking about in the tiny baby doll dresses are tiny people as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. I hid myself.
No, I wonder what the reaction would be if it was a woman with a larger body in the same outfit. I wonder if we would get the same reaction from both men and women.
I don't know.
To that, because that again is another part of the gaze and who's looking and what we get out of this. But again, that's a whole other massive topic, but I just had to get that out of my head, or otherwise it was going to sit there for the rest of the day and just really annoy me.
I hid my face.
Talk about it in the comments, guys.
Yeah, I hid my face because I thought you were going to bring up the story I told you on WhatsApp, which I'm not going to repeat. Anyway, I just was going to say, with all of this, though, I don't think it's just young women. I share every Sunday my outfits of the week. Have done now for a year. I'd stopped a bit over with my operation and stuff, but no. And I got a message around how much somebody liked what I was wearing, which I was like, oh, that's nice, because it was modest. And women at 53 should be modest. And I was just like, oh, like, never have I ever wanted to wear less clothes ever. I was like,
well,
I'm going to wear this
going to say that we get your baby doll dress next week then.
I know. I look in my wardrobe like, have I got a baby doll dress? And I've made a TikTok today of me in one of the shortest dresses I own, because it's just like, stop, this modest. And it was from a woman, and it's just so disappointing because,
okay, baby doll dresses all round this week.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got one somewhere. Thank you for joining us for another roundup of midlife chat, hot takes, and occasional moaning. Well, quite a bit of moaning.
Make sure you hit subscribe so your podcast app gently nudges you every Friday, because honestly, who remembers anything without a reminder these days? And also, we like people liking us because we're very needy.
And if you fancy being extra lovely, leave us a rating or a review. It helps more brilliant women like you find us. Have a great weekend, everyone, and make sure you find time for yourself. You deserve it.